Welcome to another Bible Capsule from Calvary Church of the Nazarene. My name is Anita Rodríguez, and I'd like to talk about a little girl found in 2 Kings chapter 5. Her name is never mentioned, but her actions and her words carry a huge impact. So again, 2 Kings chapter 5, I'm going to be reading verses 1 to 5 in the ESV. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master and in high favor, because by him the Lord had given victory to Syria. He was a mighty man of valor, but he was a leper. Now the Syrians, on one of their raids, had carried off a little girl from the land of Israel, and she worked in the service of Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "Would that my Lord were with the prophet who is in Samaria. He would cure him of his leprosy." So Naaman went in and told his Lord, "Thus and so spoke the girl from the land of Israel." And the king of Syria said, "Go now, and I will send a letter to the king of Israel." I find it surprising that everyone paid attention to this little girl from a different culture. That her words were held in high regard speaks to how she was raised. And she clearly had learned about Israel's prophet and how God worked through him in her home in Israel. But she was kidnapped and taken from that home and placed in service with Naaman's wife. This child, whose name we don't know, had words of such power that Mrs. Naaman listened to her, that Naaman listened to her, and that the king of Syria listened to her. This is staggering influence from an unlikely source. This can only point to God using this child whose heart and spirit were surrendered to him. So as we read on in the chapter, we find that Naaman did exactly as the little girl had suggested. He sought out Israel's prophet, and with the prompting of his servants, he followed the prophet's instructions. And after dipping 7 times in the Jordan River, Naaman not only found complete healing, but he also found the living God. This is interesting. What can we learn from this little girl? Or perhaps we can learn that making a name for ourselves isn't as important as having our names engraved on God's hands. Perhaps it also teaches us that age is not a hindrance to God, that He will use anyone, anywhere, at any time, of any age. Perhaps we also learn that we need to remember what we've been taught about God and how important it is for us to teach that to other people, especially to those around us. So no matter where I am or how I got there, I know that God will use me not only to further His kingdom, but to reveal His glory. And all of this came from the willingness of a small child to simply tell what she knew to be true about God. I hope that we can be encouraged to do the same. And don't forget to read the whole story in 2 Kings chapter 5. And have a blessed week. Thank you.